This is Why Am I a Mets Fan? A podcast hosted by Samantha Croston and Ashley Wenskoski.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into another episode of the Why Am I a Mets Fan podcast. We are back. Ashley is back.
Hello.
She had her little movie journey to the Midwest, and then she came back because she's an East Coast girl through and through.
Oh, we had a little journey over to the Midwest. You know what's in Wisconsin? I don't know, but it was very beautiful over there. Big fan of the Chicago area. And the Mets were playing the White Sox. How appropriate.
Yes.
So yes, my little journey to the Midwest has concluded. So sorry that I wasn't around for the Dodgers series. You know that I hated to miss it.
Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. All of your support really means a lot to us. We are here to discuss the White Sox series, hit on the Dodgers series a little, and as always, tell you what's happening down on the farm. Let's start here. The Mets take 2 of 3 from the White Sox. They won 2-1 on Monday. The Mets won 6-4 on Tuesday. Wednesday was a different story. They lost 9-4. It was pretty ugly. It was pretty brutal. And what are your takeaways?
Yeah, not the prettiest output today. The game was moved up to the afternoon because of the weather. I was watching this game as I was getting ready for work. I was happy it was a day game so we could come on the podcast and recap it tonight.
Yes.
But I was upset because the Mets, it just sort of a disaster. Griffin Canning, listen, I get it. You're going to have a clunker at some point throughout the year. He's really been great all year long, but he decided to have his worst start of the season against the second worst team in baseball today. It is unfortunate. It unfortunately does happen. I could tell you the line. He was out there for like 3 earned runs through like 3 innings. It wasn't pretty. He didn't have anything working at all. He was relying on his changeup a lot. His sinker wasn't sinking, the whole 9 yards. So Brandon Waddell came in to mop it up. The bullpen is taxed
Tired.
right now. Carlos Mendoza has been on that bullpen hard, but he's had to be. Honestly, Mendoza, I'm just going to say it. He kind of punted in this game at some point by leaving Waddell in for 5 innings, especially because Waddell gave up 7 hits, 4 earned runs, was not sparkling in any way, shape, or form, and it's the White Sox. But what are you going to do? I mean, at some point, right, it clearly all wasn't working for Waddell, but with the off day tomorrow, and like we just said, how much he's had to lean on the bullpen this homestand, I get the idea. He sort of just, some point, you got to punt. Leave him out there, rest your bullpen for the next 2 days.
I'm going to be honest. I think it's kind of genius. I actually really support it. I mean, yes, at some point, Vientos hit a 3-run homer in the third, and that made it seem like there was perhaps a chance. It was 5-3, but at some point, to your point, it's one game. They need rest. The bullpen is totally taxed. At some point, you're right. I think punted is the perfect word. He was like, screw it. I think we're going to lose anyway, and he's going to stay in. It is what it is.
See you all tomorrow night. I don't know.
It is, you know what I mean? And of course, I think most Mets fans will feel that why did it have to be against the White Sox?
Yeah.
This is the kind of series where you want to win all 3 games, of course. That being said, the record that they have now, the place that they're at in the field of all Major League Baseball teams, I mean, they are performing well against good teams, and they're performing somewhat well against bad teams. I would have preferred 3. But when you think of the fact that they won the Dodgers series, they won the White Sox series, it's not all bad in Metsland.
No, it's not. And I see people overreacting all over. Listen, I don't like it either.
That's New York.
That's
you wanna
it.
overreact.
I'm gonna overreact, all right? I just didn't love it today because I feel like, and I'm gonna give you a stat in a moment to illustrate this, there's a lot of games in these series finales that they're just sort of giving away. Also, it's the White Sox, all right? They've won like 18 games. They suck. They're terrible.
It's bad.
They're like second worst team in baseball. They were the worst team in MLB history last year. You want to talk about a franchise that's in the trenches? It is the Chicago White Sox. And I would like to know for everybody that my boyfriend, who is a Chicago native, who I was seeing this weekend, is a Chicago White Sox fan. And I would not wish that destiny on literally anyone. That's all I have to say about that. Although they do have the Pope on their side now, which could be helpful because, you know, the Pope is from Chicago. It's a whole thing. He's going to help the Chicago sports teams. We'll get into religion at a different time. But anyway, worth mentioning, Wardy pointed out this stat to us. This is the 3rd series finale game at home where the Mets just did not show up against a lesser opponent. Wardy, obviously a friend of the program. Check out his podcast if you haven't. Essentially, they did it at the end of the Marlins series, the Pirates series, and now the White Sox series. Of course, you know, it wasn't nice weather today. It was raining. They moved it up from a night game to a day game, the whole 9 yards. But I understand these are good problems to have. I'm nitpicking at really nothing. But I'm allowed to nitpick at nothing right now because the Mets are one of the best teams in baseball. Maybe just show up to the last game of the series. I like it. You lock it down a series win. You win the first two. I'm all on board. But maybe we could show up to play in the last game of the series.
Yeah, that's not the right time to be taking your foot off the gas. And I will say one thing about us on this podcast, we're not excuse makers.
No.
And the White Sox also had to show up for an earlier game.
Exactly.
Yet here they are scoring 9 runs.
And they're the White Sox. I mean, they're the White Sox. There's a few teams that it's like they are the White Sox. Also upcoming on the docket, like they're the Rockies, okay? I'm greedy. I don't care if it's the end of May. I want you to sweep the White Sox because they're the White Sox for no other reason.
And I get
Thank
it.
you.
That is a good enough reason. You should feel validated in wanting that, and you should be able to get your wish. It didn't happen this time around.
I feel validated. I feel loved.
You are loved and supported by me in this podcast. Probably not by the White Sox, but by me. No, I totally agree. I think, why not be bold at this point? Why not want 100 wins this season? Why not reach for the stars and the moon and all of it? The Mets are that good of a team where they could accomplish those kinds of feats.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't we hope for that? I understand it, and I completely agree with you. Speaking of series where the Mets won 2 games, how about them Dodgers? This homestand, Dodgers and White Sox, the Mets go 4-2 overall. Not bad when you look at it that way. So sometimes it's important to zoom out on that lens. They scored 16 runs across the 4 wins. Not great. The big 3 continuing to underperform. Underperform almost actually seems too positive when you think about
Underperform
them against the Dodgers. I think I don't even think the big 3, I don't think that they had a single hit. It was bad. Or like one hit. Dan was telling me the other day.
Oh my God.
Really, really, really bad.
I'm not gonna lie to you all. Again, there was some gallivanting in Wisconsin. I was not locked in for the entire Dodgers series. All right,
Wait, I need to say this because I'm gonna get cooked. It was 0 for something in the first game, not the series, and that's on me.
Okay.
Don't cook me in the comments. Don't broil me.
No,
I'm not interested.
broiling.
It's
We're
hot
not
enough
here
in this
for a
room.
Fish fry. We're not here for a fish fry right now. Again, I was in and out. I was watching, but it was, distracted. But I was monitoring the Dodgers series, and I was extremely encouraged to see them drop the first one. I saw the episode that you did at God knows what time in the morning. Credit to you for staying here and for putting that out for all of our loyal Dodgers viewers.
Left
who
at 2:20 a.m.
Awesome. 2:20 a.m. Eastern, who continue to stick around, by the way, and we credit them for that as well. Shout out to our Dodgers fans. I know. But after that disaster class, the 13 innings, the whole 9 yards, then the Mets come out and win the next 2 games. And honestly, just from afar, for once, I was encouraged to see that, right? You have the whole trials and tribulations of that first game.
13 innings.
Rain
delay for an hour and a half or more.
Mess, disaster class, and then you come out and you win the next 2. So, the Dodgers game on Saturday, Peterson twirls a gem, Diaz 4-out save, 2 RBIs each from Soto and Baty. And listen, Dodgers fans, we have a new character around town that we didn't have last year in the NLCS, and we didn't have him to what he is now. Mr. Brett Baty has started to walk around with a little strut, and I'll get into it more in a moment, but Brett has figured a few things out.
Bro has a little swagger. And just to say it, in that series against the Dodgers, yes, Shohei OHTANI had a home run, but I thought he was relatively silenced. I thought they did a good job with Shohei OHTANI. And I also would like to point out, just so Mets fans know, as we sort of head into another series with the Dodgers, maybe 2 weeks or less from now?
It's like next week, and I really regret to inform you all that we are both on vacation, but we'll figure it out.
But I am happy and pleased to tell you that we will be trying to figure out something else.
We will be trying to figure it out.
We will be trying to do some Zoom episodes and recaps and other formats. So please let us know how you guys feel about that. I know that sometimes the Zoom podcasts do not come across in the same way these do from an aesthetic standpoint. But if you guys like and appreciate the instant, quick recaps, we can do those sorts of things for you.
Yeah.
It's just going to look a little bit ugly. So let us know how you feel about that.
Surely.
That being said, I want people to know, and I know that they do know this, but the Dodgers have a lot of pitchers right now who are unavailable, who are on the IL, all those things. When the Dodgers get all of their pieces back and everybody is really ready to play, I do think you're going to see a little bit more of a strengthened Dodgers team.
Yes.
So be aware of the fact that the Dodgers were not at full strength this time around.
Also, I do think the Mets pitching staff handled OHTANI relatively well, but their lone run in the Sunday loss, the Mets won it 3-1, was an OHTANI leadoff home run, and he has 20 home runs already, and I am going to need someone to call the police, call the authorities, call somebody, because that is just crazy.
He's
You're
the face of baseball.
Yeah, he really is.
He just is.
It's undoubtable. It's undebatable.
There
That's
is
not a
nothing
word.
else that, but that's how good he is.
What if anything?
You had to just come up with new words for him.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, there truly is no debate about it. And you know what we've never talked about, but I just have to say it once? His stance in the batter's box is truly the most bizarro world thing I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Like, he is holding the bat
I know.
straight up. How is anybody hitting anything with that
It
stance?
evokes Babe Ruth stance, and that's who he's compared to a lot. So it's
Crazy.
kind of crazy. Yeah, I know. The only other person that would really be in that face of baseball conversation, people are going to say Aaron Judge. I really feel like those are the only two. Yeah. I would love to sit here with you and tell you that Soto or Lindor are in that conversation, but they're just not.
No.
Also, just for the record, to me, I may not be acting like it because I'm, gallivanting off, but like these Dodgers series to me are the most important series of the regular season, other than maybe a division rival or two, right? The Phillies are heating up now. Phillies 2 games above the Mets in the NL East. Phillies have forgotten how to lose recently, so they're surely going to be important down the stretch. The Braves are still buried in no man's land, as is everybody else in the NL East. The Yankees, as much as we like to talk about it and it's fun, don't actually matter at the end of the day to get into the playoffs. So for the New York Mets in the regular season, these games against the Dodgers, like all eyes. Like this is, I know everybody is because of the NLCS last year and the whole thing, but the rivalry has been renewed, I would say.
I would say that too. And I would just say it's significant. And I think sometimes people forget that because we're at this point, 1/3 of the way through the season. Yeah. But all of a sudden, I feel like with the Mets, this is kind of what happens is down the stretch, there's a couple games at the end that end up mattering the most, and it could have been prevented when you think back on X or Y times, like now, when things could have gone differently.
All of a sudden, it's a crisp fall night in Queens, and you don't even know how you got there. It's September, and it's crisp out, and you don't know why.
All the Braves have to do is win 3 games, and then bad things happen, and then the Braves win 3 games.
Help.
So I'm just saying, every game actually does matter. You might just not know it yet.
Especially against the Los Angeles Dodgers. So
yes,
we will be on lock next week in some way, shape, or form. Don't you worry.
We'll be here. An interesting little stat here, and I'm going to actually toss it over to Ashley to talk about this. This was courtesy of another intern, Jeremy, who has joined our staff recently. So Jeremy, if you're watching, thank you so much. He's actually taken over the TikTok. So if you follow us on TikTok, if you like TikTok, we have different content coming out there. We are now essentially a 4-person staff between both of us, our 2 interns, and our gracious directors who help us out from time to time.
Yes. Jeremy has been handling the TikTok, so nice of him. Just really sweeping up some things that we don't always have time to do and like bolstering our show notes. I usually end up doing the show notes, but he's been giving us some stats and some pertinent info to kind of boost those when we don't have time. So he had something that I really liked this week. He said, whether we like it or not, games that hit the Vegas under are games the Mets are winning, which is pretty much the opposite to what a lot of us thought coming into the season, for better or for worse. And boy, is he right. We've seen it throughout the last couple of weeks. The close, low scoring, gritty, you got to play great defense, pitchers duels are the games that the Mets are winning. I just said like it or not. I'm going to just come out and say it. I don't like it. I don't like it. Like it or not, I don't like it. Ready or not, here I come. Because I think it's a dangerous thing. It's a good thing if your baseball team can win those games, right? Because that probably means you're a pretty well-rounded team. You can play good defense in the late innings, and you're pitching well. So those are all positives. But what you said before, the Soto, Lindor, Alonso virtual silence over the last 15 games, I could go through the stats for you, but they're terribly ugly. So look that up on your own time if you want to shed a tear. Like, you need those 3 to start hitting and to start hitting with runners in scoring position if you are going to be the team down the stretch that you intend on being this year. This is nice that you can pitch and you can win close games, and those 1-run ball games are going to be the difference in, say, a September when the Atlanta Braves wake up from their slumber and are all of a sudden knocking down your door. However, you can't, I need your 3 stars to be stars at some point.
It's all about the RISP. Why are the Mets so rizzy, but they're not rispy?
That was a good one. You came up with that last year.
I did say that already? That sucks when my jokes are the same
but I
jokes.
think but I think it was a long time ago. Like, that's a resurfaced old friend.
Oh my God, I don't have any new content.
All
but
right,
isn't that a good one?
Content, yes.
No, I really do think that it is a bummer. It's like at some point, I feel like we come on here and we say this every single week. I'm still not pleased with Soto's numbers.
Yeah.
And that's just it. I'm not going to, run him into the ground like the rest of New York media. And I'm not going to praise him and say that we should be holding out hope because we all need to be a little bit patient. I've been patient for a while. Nothing's happened. It hasn't gotten me anywhere. Patience is not a virtue on this podcast. It is not. I want it and I want it now.
You always say one of her big phrases is hope is not a strategy. Patience is also not a strategy. And I don't have a lot of it, and you don't either sometimes when it comes to sporting things. Juan Soto, I am running out of patience, and we won't get down that rant right now because I actually have a lot to talk about that doesn't involve Juan Soto on the Mets because he's honestly not that big of a character right now. And he has shown some flashes. He had those 2 RBIs in the one game against the Dodgers. He's stealing some bases. There's attributes, but for what we are paying him per at bat, which our friend James Buckley so nicely pointed out in one of our comments lately, and I don't remember the number, but it is outrageous.
It's like over $80,000.
I can't even, triple what I make in a year. That's just what he makes to have
but
one
you
at
didn't
bat.
hear that here.
You didn't hear that here. That was an estimate. Anyways, it is getting a little out of hand. And not just him. I know people are going to come on and say, oh, Lindor's numbers are fine. He's hitting like 270. And oh, Alonso's hitting like 320 with runners in scoring position. And that's all fine. But I'm not looking for fine from those 3. I'm not looking for fine from Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, and Pete Alonso. And I know Alonso was great to start the year, and now he's cooled off. And that is what it is. I am going to need those 3 to not have us in 3-1 situations, to not have us in why are they down today? Sorry, I'm really rolling right now.
She said we'd talk about it another day, and yet here we are.
No, we're talking about it now. Mm-hmm. Why are the Mets fall behind 4-0 against the Chicago White Sox today? And my first reaction is, oh, they're not going to come back in this game. That's over. It's the White Sox, and you have the hitters that you have in your lineup. I should not be thinking that, down 4 runs.
And yet I understand.
And yet I am.
Why you do. I understand why you feel that way. And you're right to say that you shouldn't feel that way. I mean, listen, I will say, at least for Lindor, I'll give him a little credit in that I do feel like in some very crucial at-bats where you really need a hit, or it could potentially be a game winner, or it could be a walk-off, he's there. He's ready.
I agree.
He steps up in the big moments. And you definitely couldn't say that about Juan Soto right now.
No.
The other thing is, at some point, you just have to think if, Ashley getting a call. If the Mets are as good as they are right now, then how much greater could they be if Juan Soto had Juan Soto numbers? Of course you're going to think about that. Who wouldn't? And at some point, it doesn't matter yet, but it's going to. And it would have already if the Mets weren't as good as they already are, not without him, but without his best.
No, honestly, and I started with this, it is actually a testament to how well-rounded of a team David Stern's put together that they still have 34 wins and are whatever, in second in the NL East and one of the better teams in baseball with really no Juan Soto production and limited production from the other characters in the lineup. That is a testament to the fact that they are a well-rounded, good baseball team. But to your point, yes, I'm going to need him to figure it out because all of a sudden it starts mattering. And I'm not going to do the New York media thing that is ready to throw in the towel on Juan Soto. I know he'll look like Juan Soto at some point, but I'm going to need that point to be now. It's June. I'm out of patience.
I was going to say, it is very late May. It is about to be June. If we are still having these conversations in July, mark my words, it's an uglier tone than you're hearing right now.
Houston, we have a problem. But you know who doesn't have a problem?
Brett
Baty, because he has figured it the hell out.
He really has. Tell everybody that you know. Start drawing posters of him. Do anything that you can. Compliment Juan Soto on giving him that Tahoe. He absolutely earned it. I hope and I know that we will not, in fact, be seeing that Tahoe back here in Syracuse. He's doing a great job.
No more Tahoe sightings. We never had a Tahoe sighting, and now we are never going to.
We still won't. In his last 7 games, he is batting .360, 9 for 25, 6 ribbies, 1 home run. I mean, damn. And his defense has been good too.
His defense at third base has been stellar, and his infield defense in general, right? We touch on this another time. Not one of our main topic bars today, but the Mets do have somewhat of a situation on their hands when Brett Baty can just flat out pick it at third base and Mark Vientos can't. You got a little bit of a playing time problem on your hands there, or at least one that's going to rear its head at some point. And he's been playing so well in the last few days and weeks, give it up for Brett, that Mendoza even bumped him in the lineup, and it has seen some decreased playing time for old friend Luis Angel Acuna, which I know we are all high on and we think has a lot of talent. So you know what? This is a good problem to have. I'm not going to act like it's not, but finding room in your infield for Baty, Vientos, and Acuna night in and night out just isn't going to happen. So something's going to have to give, whether it's Acuna in center field. Nobody likes that idea, whether it's less time for McNeil, whatever it is. Something's going to have to give somewhere. More Mark Vientos at DH. I don't know. But now they got this Jared Young guy who's been really killing it at DH in his first few games.
All right, so let's talk about Jared Young. 10 at-bats, 2 hits, 1 home run, 2 RBIs. And wow, he has had a really interesting, great, and fascinating past few days.
Yeah, let's talk about Jared Young for a second, because I, like many, told you all I was not locked in this week. Saw the lineup a few days ago. It said Young DH. I was like, so is Danny Young like the pitcher?
No,
is he back?
I understand your confusion.
What is going on? Then I took a deeper dive and I figured it the hell out. So, Jared Young, so sorry, started the season obviously here in Syracuse. We didn't even really tell you to keep your eyes on him because he really came out of nowhere.
We really didn't know.
The Mets signed him back in December. It was really an acquisition that flew sort of completely under the radar. He is 29 years old. He's a first baseman, utility guy. He spent the better part of the last 2 years in AAA for the Cubs and the Cardinals. He did take a little diversion over to the Korean League at some point and put up great numbers there. He had 10 homers and 16 doubles in 38 games in the Korean League. And then he signed with the Cardinals AAA Memphis Redbirds. Allegedly, the story goes, he went to the front office of the Cardinals to ask if he'd ever get the chance to play, and they said something like probably not, so they cut him. And David Stern said, you can come over to the Syracuse Mets. They called him up. They need a DH option. They need a lefty bat option, lefty DH option, and he's been doing great. He had 4 straight starts prior to today, and on Tuesday night, he hit his first MLB home run in 615 days. I know that swing felt good for Jared Young.
It was gorgeous. I mean, he even had his little post-game interview, and I have to say, even then, he seemed pretty cool, calm, and collected. He didn't seem overwhelmed by the pressure, overwhelmed by the big leagues, or even overwhelmed by New York. Honestly, that's the kind of man who I want to see in a spot situation.
Yeah. Like I said, he's 29. You can't really quantify him as a prospect anymore, but he's shown flashes. And you know what? If he's one of those journeyman utility guys who can fill a hole for you in your lineup in the absence of Jesse Winker when you are missing his lefty bat and his DH presence, then more power to him. John Harper.
I can think of a guy who mattered like that last year.
Nope, don't start with me right now. I'm gonna get upset. You all know who we're talking about, but I don't want to talk about it because I'm upset. Also,
right.
Jose Iglesias has not been looking great with the Padres, I should add. Anyways, John Harper said on Young, Daily News guy, that a scout texted him, quote, he's got some slug, not young, but keeps improving as a hitter. So, you know what? Maybe Jared's a late bloomer.
Not young.
29.
Is someone saying that about me?
No, they're saying that about a 29-year-old. You're not 29. You're fine. You're in your glory days.
That's a good point. All right. Thank God. All right. We also have a little topic we wanted to discuss here. Probably should have talked about this when we discussed Soto, but we'll just say it. Soto steals, question mark?
Juan Soto is going to be a problem on the base paths. Earlier this week, he stole his 7th base in 52 games. He has not been caught yet. And that matches the total that Soto had throughout the entire season last year, 157 games with the New York Yankees. So for all the talk of the hustle and all that, which, by the way, has not been an issue in the last week since Carlos Mendoza allegedly had that conversation, I have seen improvement in that area. But for all the talk about the Soto hustle, he's certainly hustling on the base paths. He's certainly stealing a few bases. And you know what? Why not? You should be a well-rounded player for $765 million.
I totally agree. I also think that matters, that it has not been a problem since that conversation was had.
Yeah.
That also shows you something, which is that he understood there was room for improvement and he made a switch. Because don't tell me, I know he said, well, I was hustling. He was just trying to protect himself because who wouldn't do that when the media presents that question to you? He did not hustle. Okay.
Yeah.
He did not. And I am sure that that's what Carlos Mendoza said to him was, we all know that you didn't, and you could have run faster, and we've seen you run faster. And the steals are proof of that.
Yeah.
So we need you to run that way all the time. And now he is.
And I saw all of you in our comments. There was a few of you that were saying that our reaction to that hustling debacle was actually refreshing for New York sports media because, like, we agree. And listen, he was not hustling. I'm going to need you to take some accountability, and you can't act like you are above the front office and the manager and all of that. So I saw all of your comments that appreciated that take from us. And I don't even think it's refreshing. I just think that should be not even a question. The fact that we're even sitting here having that conversation for the amount of money and the spectacle that the Juan Soto signing was this winter should not be happening on the earth that I would like to live on.
Well, just forget, wow, love that. Forget even, the managers and the front office or even, your family or the fans. What about just the other players? Like Brandon Nimmo? And all these other players who are hustling even when they get walked. I'm not saying you all have to do that. I just really like that he does that, and I think it's a cool part of his character. But that's what I'd be looking at, is who's setting the example on this team.
Yeah.
Well, I'm new to this team, so I should probably follow that example. I should probably do that.
He got a performance review at his job, and it wasn't a positive one. And now we've seen improvement.
It happens. It happens
you.
at every job. It's all right.
Not this job, though. They love us.
They do.
Joke.
They really do.
Just
love
in a
us.
silly, goofy
It's
way,
all
guys.
Lastly, down on the farm, we have a couple things we'd like to say. Paul Blackburn, AAA-Syracuse, in his final rehab start today. 6.1 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts in 84 pitches. What do you think about Blackburn?
Yeah, they're going to bring him back up. He is done with his rehab assignment. You just said it, but 2.70 ERA and 4 starts at AAA. He's looked good through the rehab assignment. Blackburn is not someone that has ever particularly tantalized me, even when they signed him last season. But I do think with the upcoming stretch where they play 10 games in 10 days and have a bullpen that is gassed to the max, I do think that it's not a terrible idea. Bring him up, maybe give him either, I don't know, I hate to say a spot start against the Dodgers, but maybe later on in that second series against the Rockies. No, I'm saying, I hate to say it, but maybe he can at least give you some long relief or something, because you are light on pitching right now and you're going to need some depth.
Yep, true that. And you also have right-hander Nolan McLean, 5.1 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts today for AAA-Syracuse in 76 pitches right now at the AAA level. His ERA is 2.31. What do you think about him?
I am tantalized by McLean. We saw him, kind of work his way up. I believe that, right, he had the one appearance in New York. I don't know. We'll see what he ends up providing. I know that Brandon Sproat, a topic we have not touched on in a while, Sproaty has not been having a great start to the season for AAA-Syracuse. That ERA is last I looked, in the 7s. So we'll get back to you on that another time. But yeah, I'm interested in McLean for sure. I think that some of the pitching that they have in AAA right now could definitely be a difference maker come the summer. So the Mets are off tomorrow, and then they head out west. I love when they head out west. You all know I love that. They're going to have 3 with the Rockies, 4 more with the Dodgers, and then 3 more with the Rockies. Weird stretch of the schedule right now where they've been back to, it's like Dodgers, Rockies, Dodgers, Rockies. What is happening?
I'm not sure, but I will say this. I think that's a better situation than the Dodgers. I believe the Dodgers are playing like the Yankees or something and then coming back to the Mets. This is not a bad draw. Rockies and then Rockies again. We should be seeing many, if not all, wins from that.
Yeah.
And then I get it. You're going out to LA. It's a little bit of a different vibe there, but it's 4 games. These matter. I want to see that fight. I want to see that heart. Even if there is a loss in there, then I want to see you coming back the next day, winning more games, trying hard, not giving up. It matters.
Never give up. Never
give up.
No, I was just going to say, yes, this is a portion of the schedule, aside from the Dodgers, with the 3 with the White Sox, now 6 with the Rockies, that you really need to capitalize on this portion of the schedule. I am going to say it right now. I want no less than 5 out of 6 from the Rockies. The Rockies suck. That's it.
No less. No
5 of 6
fewer
from the Colorado
than.
Rockies.
5 out of 6. By the way, your nails look really good. We both have pink nails right now.
Oh, so cute.
Anyway, thank you everybody so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Appreciate all of your support. As always, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and keep checking back on the channel. We have some exciting things coming up for you all. We will see you back here when the next big thing happens. Have a great week.